Hello again, my name's John. I'm a retired cook from the northeast of England in the UK, and welcome to my latest video recipe. And in this one I'll be making our very popular mouth-watering individual steak pie recipe. It really is very easy to make. And also I'll be using my very convenient and simple hot water crust pastry method once more. You can view the ingredients list and full written method for this recipe on the recipe page on the channel's website. I'll leave a link in the description under the video, or you can click on the eye icon top right of the screen to take you directly to the recipe page. And I'd like to thank the Patreon and PayPal supporters for their very kind help. I'll be doing the shout out and name splash a little later in the video. Okay, let's get on with today's recipe. Okay, I'll start by getting the pie filling on to cook. Pour the 570ml, that's 1 pint of beef stock, into a pan on a medium heat. If you have natural beef stock, that's great. I don't, so I'm using 2 of these OXO cubes. You can use any beef stock cubes that's available in your part of the world. Now while that's heating up, I'll start cutting the meat. For this recipe I'm using this quite cheap but lean stewing or casserole beef. Now if you want to add extra flavour to these pies and make the filling go further, you can add kidney and an onion, but I'm keeping mine plain and simple with just beef. First cut the meat into strips and then cut those into small cubes, about 12mm, and that's about half an inch. Right, nothing too complicated so far. Now let's move back to the stove. And all you do now is simply place the meat into the simmering stock and give it a good stir. Now you've got to be careful with the seasoning. Like I said earlier, I'm using stock cubes in mine which do contain quite a bit of salt, and also I'll be using gravy granules to thicken the finished filling, and that also contains salt. And don't forget the salt in the pastry too. So there's actually no need to add any extra salt to this meat at all. You can of course add white or black pepper if you wish, but all I'm adding to mine is these 2 bay leaves. Now these add a wonderful flavour to the beef. Okay, I'll stick the lid on and let that slowly simmer for 1.5 to 2 hours. Right, while the meat's cooking, I'll move on to making the pastry. Pour the water into a small pan and bring it to a simmer. Now add the salt to the flour. Place the butter and fat into the hot water and stir until it melts. Make a well in the flour and add the hot liquid. Using my trusty wooden spoon handle, I'll bring it all together. Once it's all together, scrape down the sides of the bowl. Now tip the dough onto a floured surface and fold it all together into a smooth ball. Try not to overmix at this stage. Incidentally, this is exactly how you make pastry for your traditional pork pies. I do have a 2-part video on how to make pork pies. I'll leave links in the description box below the video if you're interested in making those. Right, this pastry is way too hot and soft to use at the moment, so I'll cut it into 2 pieces. One large one for the bases of the pies and a smaller one for the tops. Now I'll wrap them in cling film or plastic food bags and get them into the fridge for at least 2 hours. Now this pastry can be made well in advance or even the day before. Right, back to the stove to prepare the filling. First remove the 2 bay leaves, they've done their job now. The meat has been slowly simmering for about 1.5 hours and it's very tender and starting to break down a little. This is exactly what we want. Now carefully ladle off half of the stock into a jug. This will be used to make the gravy, and I'll show you how to do that a little later on in the video. Once the level of the stock reaches the top of the meat, stop there. To thicken and to add more flavour to this beautiful steak pie filling, I'll be using 20 grams, that's 1.5 tablespoons of these beef gravy granules. If you don't have gravy granules where you live, you can use a little corn flour, or you may know that as cornstarch, in a little cold water to thicken it. But the gravy granules give this filling that dark, rich appearance. Now give that a good stir until yours resembles the same consistency as mine here in the video. Not too runny and not too thick. Now cover the pot and let it completely cool. A good way of quickly cooling something down like this is to float the pan in a sink of cold water. Back to the pastry. Now these are the small little pie tins that I'll be using. They're in ideal size for these pies, and I'll be making 4 of these, by the way. I'll leave a link in the description box below for all the dimensions. Now you need to grease these tins. I like to use a little lard to grease mine, but you can use butter, shortening, or even a little oil to grease yours. Right, on to rolling out the pastry. Take your pastry from the fridge. Now on a floured surface, roll the larger piece until it's around 4mm or 3/16 of an inch thick. A good way of getting a uniform thickness in your pastry is to use these pastry guide sticks. They work great. If I can get hold of some, I'll get them onto the website shop. But with a little imagination, I'm sure you can come up with a version of your own. Right, that's the pastry rolled. So I'll cut out the circles for the bases of the pies, so you'll need to find something a bit larger than the tins that you're using. I'll just make sure I can get all 4 out of this piece. Right, that's the bases done, so I'll set those aside for now. Now roll out the pastry for the lids of these pies, and in this video I'll be using this smaller bowl to cut those out. Right, that's all the pastry ready to go. Don't forget, any pastry you have left can be rolled up and frozen for your next recipe. Right, I'll have a little clean up and then I'll be back to put these beautiful pies together. Okay, place your pastry base in the centre of the tin and gently press it down right to the bottom corners. Make sure you don't have any air pockets in the bottom. And for those girls and guys with long fashionable nails, you can use a little piece of pastry to push it down. And for those who are not sure where the corner of the tin is, I'm referring to this part where the bottom meets the sides. It's important to get the pastry right down into it. Make sure you have a lip of pastry all around the edge as shown. Okay, time to fill these cases with the meat. Spoon this delicious filling into each pie base right to the top, gently compacting it so there are no gaps or air pockets in the filling at all. Right, that's each pie case filled. For the egg wash, crack a small egg into a suitable container and add a dash of milk and whisk thoroughly until it's nice and smooth and runny. Now before going any further, preheat your oven to 170 Celsius, that's 340 Fahrenheit or gas mark 3. Time to put the lids on. Now brush a little egg wash all around the rim of the pie, being careful not to get any egg wash between the pastry and the sides of the tins, as this may make the pie stick as it bakes in the oven. Now place the lid on and gently press it down all the way around. Now crimp the edges together all the way around as shown. Now this takes a little practice, but once you've done one or two, you'll pick it up very easily. Right, get yourself a small knife and cut 2 vent holes in each pie as shown. Once all 4 pies are done, place them on a baking tray. Now give each pie a good coat of the egg wash, once again being very careful not to get any on the tin. Make sure that your vent holes are not blocked with the egg wash, as there's nothing worse. By the way, I do get asked quite a lot in the comments if there's an alternative to eggs in the egg wash, as many people can't have them. You can use plain milk instead of the egg. The colour will be a bit flat and there'll be no shine, but it will work. Now place them in the preheated oven. I like to place mine near the bottom of the oven, with the bottom element turned on. This ensures that the bottom of the pastry is well cooked, as you'll see a little later in the video. Now set your timer for 45 minutes. And while those are baking, I hope you don't mind if I give my 2 recipe books a bit of a plug. The books have lots of our favourite easy to follow recipes from our work kitchens in them. Both books are available in the website shop, along with lots of other equipment I use in the videos. And by popular demand, the skeleton style oven gloves will soon be available too. Just click on the eye icon top right of your screen and that'll take you directly to the website shop. Right, baking time's up, so I'll get them out. Now no oven runs exactly at the correct temperature, so if yours is looking a little underdone, just give them a little longer, but keep an eye on them. And as you can see, mine are looking fantastic, so I'll leave them on a wire rack for about 10 minutes. And when I come back, I'll pop one out of its tin and show you the inside. And as always, have a little taste. Okay, as promised, I'll show you how to make this delicious beefy gravy. First, add the stock to a small saucepan. Now add a couple of small knobs of butter. This will give the gravy a nice glaze. Now bring that to a simmer. Now for a thickening agent, mix a heaped teaspoon of corn flour, you may know that as cornstarch, in a little cold water. Now add the corn flour mixture to the gravy and whisk. And if you don't like your gravy too thick, just add a little of the corn flour mixture a bit at a time until you reach the thickness that you like. Now to cook the flour taste off, just let it simmer for about 5 minutes. Okay, these have been resting for a few minutes now and they're still pretty hot. And it's come out of the tin very easily. And as you can see, the bottom is well cooked. Okay, I'll cut this beauty open. And just look at that mouth-watering moist filling. Okay, I'll add a little of that rich beef gravy. And they smell absolutely delicious, by the way. And here I go. And oh yes, absolutely delicious. And if you follow my recipe carefully, this will probably be the best pie you've ever tasted. And I'm not joking. And this is how we serve this meal from our work kitchens, with chips or mash and peas, with a good drizzle of that rich beefy gravy. And definitely a big thumbs up for another great pie recipe. And as promised at the beginning, here is the latest list of my Patreon and PayPal supporters. And they are Ariel Elishaba, Robert Keown, Ewan Reid, Stephen Kaufman, Mariam Chavez, Anne Skelchi, Laura Bushby, Susan M. Hayworth, Kenneth Hunter, Gaylord Holder, Todd Furler, Georgina McDowell, Charlotte English, Scott Desmere, Michael Harris, Angela Blenkinsop-Wilcox, Sandra Oss, Chris Stephan, Anthony Evans, Martin Connolly, Ken Stevens, Anthony Levito, Wanda L. Peace, Shannon, Brian Bushby, Sarah Etheridge, Donnie DeFiglia, Kristen Burgess and Kate Bartolome. And there's also one who wishes to remain anonymous. Thanks very much guys, I really do appreciate all that you do in supporting the channel. Well, thank you again for watching. Please like, share, comment and subscribe by hitting the circle above. If you do subscribe, activate the bell icon next to the subscribe button on my channel page. And by doing that, you'll be automatically notified every time I upload a new video. And in the meantime, here's a few of my other videos and playlists that you may want to watch. So, until the next time, be safe in your kitchen and bye for now.